I'm excited today that we're going to be putting together our metaphor project that we had started to write yesterday. So yesterday, our first day of class, we had put together a real basic writing piece that started to explain a metaphor for who we are as writers. I saw walking around the room that some of you had chosen things like I am a tornado, to tigers and lions, to just about anything you can imagine, which is fantastic. Our goal today is to polish that piece of writing, find an image that we are able to use because it has a Creative Commons copyright license to it, and post both of those pieces to a web page, which we'll be using about.me to post. First, you need to make sure that your writing piece is polished before you ever move forward on putting your writing up on the web. To do that, I'm going to ask that you work with a partner today and have someone else read through your metaphor. And read through the metaphor and the writing piece with a critical eye. And what I mean by that is use the grading rubric that you have at the bottom of your handout on the back side that you got yesterday. Use what you are being graded on to help peer revise each other's piece. So what I want you to do right now is take out the About Me handout that you received yesterday in class. It should look like the one that you now see on your screen. And you're going to look on the back side where it says Opening Activity and look down towards the bottom. You should see a 4-item grading rubric. Let's go through that together real quickly so you know exactly what your project is being assessed on. In terms of the writing, I'm going to be looking at your ideas and organization. And what I mean by that is not that you have everyone in the class writing the exact same way and in the exact same style, but the organization and description and development of your ideas should make sense for your metaphor. So some of you will start out your writing piece very clearly stating, my writing is like a tornado because. However, you don't necessarily have to start that way. So one of the things that I want you to think about is how does the writing process make the most sense for the metaphor that you're trying to describe? So if you are saying that your writing process is like a blizzard, then more than likely what we should see is a bunch of ideas hitting the page quickly, a bunch of short sentences perhaps, maybe even disconnected, so that the writing style mirrors the metaphor that you're putting out there. And that all accounts for some of the organization. You'll notice in the handout that what I'm going to be looking for is that you have a very clearly defined metaphor. That's where it says the writing maintains a sharp, distinct thesis. And that thesis is a clearly identified metaphor for that piece of writing. I'm also going to be looking that you incorporate detailed responses and reasoning to develop that metaphor. So I'm looking for multiple ways in which you explain how your writing is like the metaphor that you've decided upon. Additionally, I'm going to be looking for a connection to your audience. I need to see through that small piece of writing of less than 200 words that you understand that you are writing for a larger audience. Since this is going to be posted to the web, you will more than likely have a reader coming across your piece of writing who's not familiar with this assignment. So referencing this assignment or writing directly to me, your teacher, is not going to make a whole lot of sense. Instead, your writing piece should make sense for someone who is not familiar with this particular assignment, which means you're going to be using description to give examples and to give rationale and to give details to explain the metaphor so that anybody can understand it. You get 5 points for that. Underneath that, you'll see you're also graded on your content. And really what I'm looking for is how well you develop those explanations and details. You should be using things like analogies or more descriptive details and explanations and anecdotes to help give full understanding of what your metaphor is. So again, I'm looking that you develop it not just by saying my writing is like a lion because it's loud and it roars, but really getting inside the metaphor and using descriptive details to develop it. The third thing that you're being graded on is your style. And this goes back to something that I was sort of talking about a little bit earlier. The writing style of your particular piece, whether that is done as a paragraph, whether that is done as a poem, should match what your metaphor is. So if you describe your writing as a song, then the writing style that you use to put together your writing piece should look like a song. You want to think about how you put your sentences together. I'm looking for colorful verbs, descriptive verbs. I'm looking for descriptive language that matches your metaphor. I want to see that you've clearly considered the word choice and the sentence arrangement and the tone that you're using to get across your piece. Last is presentation and design, which actually has very little to do with the writing per se, but has everything to do with your audience. You know this from surfing the web in general. If a page does not immediately capture your attention, you flip, you find something else to look at. And so before you even really get into the writing piece, you have to be able to engage your viewer, engage your audience. And there are a couple of things I want you to consider when you're putting together your About Me page. One is design. Things like putting purple font on a black background doesn't work because your reader on the web will not be able to read it. So you want to think about your choices in terms of color, in terms of placement, in terms of readability. Design matters. So I want to make sure that you put together your writing piece in a font that's large enough for most viewers to see, in a way that you don't have a distracting background on the back of the writing piece so that we can't really see the letters and read your piece that you've worked on. You want to make sure that your design is balanced, that it is readable, and that it is effective. So you want to make sure that the design of your About.me page doesn't detract from the writing. Instead, it should feel balanced, well-designed, and polished. And here's the other really crucial piece. At the end of your piece that you're writing, you must make sure that you have a hyperlinked credit to the original photographer of the background you're using. That is why yesterday I asked you to not only find an image, but make sure that you keep track of who the creator of that image is on Flickr and the URL or the web address to where you found it. Because one of the things I'm going to be showing you how to do in just a few minutes is how to hyperlink back to that image. You must give credit. Again, I'm not asking you to do MLA. What I'm asking you to do is hyperlink back so that someone who wants to know where you got your background image can simply click and find the original source. So those are the things that you're graded on, which add up to 20 points. Now let's talk about how you actually go about doing that. One of the things that we did yesterday was we took a look at Flickr. And in particular, you're not just going to flickr.com, you're not going out to Google, you're using Flickr Creative Commons. So the web address, which is on the back side of, or on the front side of your About Me sheet, and is very simply flickr.com/Creative Commons. This is the spot that you're using. You want to use the one that says attribution license. And what that means is that this is an image that is okay for you to use on other websites as long as you give credit to the original creator, which is what we're going to do. So once you're here, you're going to click on See More. And then I'm just going to use an example to show you how to download the image, which is really fairly simple to do. So once you've gotten into the point where you can search, you'd simply type in whatever your metaphor is. Like I'm just going to randomly use waterfall, because I think someone yesterday had mentioned that as a potential metaphor. You should come back with a number of images that have all been Creative Commons licensed, which means you can use them as long as you give credit. Now, when you're looking at the images on the screen, because most computer screens are wider horizontal, it works better to pick out an image like this one that's done what we, if you're thinking in word terms, is landscape rather than vertically oriented. An image like this right here really wouldn't work well because it would only show down the center of the web page. You want an image that will work very well to go full screen. And so that's why more than likely an image like this one will work quite well. When we click on it, it should bring up both the picture, but then above it you'll see that it has actions. When you click on actions, you'll see a drop-down menu. It will allow you to choose the size of the image. You want to choose the largest size possible. The reason for that is because it'll have the highest resolution. It'll look the best as your background. So that's sort of one of the things that you need to make sure you kind of keep your eye open for.